Bow your heads, please. Dear God, thank you for another glorious experience of contemplating and exploring and understanding some of those beautiful ideas that you've given us all access to, and thankfully two minds have been able to come together and explore these places that you intend for us to do. And we thank you for this opportunity, and we're gonna have a really good time today. Hopefully we can continue supporting those who have been sharing with us, the few that let us know that us doing this in your honor is helping their life, and that's just so meaningful for Anthony and I. And we thank you so much for this opportunity, and we assure you that we're going to put nothing but the best effort into it, and hopefully it comes out exactly as we intend. In Jesus' name we pray, amen. Episode 47, eh?
Damn. Almost at 50. Opening with another plowed and beat. Sorry, Kruma. It's KX Ruma.
Good guy, man. I'm happy for him, dude.
Yeah.
I'm just happy to see a young man with ambition and motivation.
Chasing a dream.
Like, I like literally, I just got such a positive vibe inside just thinking about that.
Yeah.
Because I remember that young man when he was in 7th grade.
Yeah.
When I met him, you know?
Yeah.
So it's cool. I love, that's very motivating to a middle-aged man like myself, is to see a young generation coming up and putting in the work, man. I love that.
And not just saying they want to do something, but he actually goes out and does it. Like, gets recording time.
Wow, thank you for saying that.
Yeah.
Because on my walk today, I literally had that thought of like it was kind of maybe a look coming from the aggressive drive for sure. Mm-hmm. But I was like, stop justifying your resents. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And I don't know what you were talking about, like saying you're doing something but not really doing it. It was kind of like, I don't know, dude. It was like really focusing on go out there and do what you think is you. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. I want to see more like self-directed behavior from the younger generation sometimes, man. And I love them with all my heart, but that's like the truth, you know?
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of like following sometimes that happens. So I don't know, man. You started talking about, we were talking about Plowden, you know, I'm gonna call him by his name that I knew him before his artist name. Like, kudos to him, man. Whatever you're pursuing something and it brings you passion and it's creativity and it's good for you. Seriously, it's good for your mental health and your emotional health. So keep doing that, Plowden. And for anyone else who like maybe follows a little bit too much on social media and gets influenced by it, instead go out there and make your own path and make your own thing, right?
Yeah.
And then make sure that you're not letting your beliefs be determined for you. And that's just a quick loving message to the younger generation, man. Like, be real, all right? Be authentic, and like don't be concerned with what other people are thinking of you if you know that what you're doing is right for yourself and the people around you, okay? Like, that's legit, man.
That's kind of where we landed on the last episode, was talking about being genuine and chasing a dream, and how that'll help you achieve a feeling of hope and self-worth in trying to do something that may seem impossible to others. Because if you're doing it because it's genuine to who you are, which is what Chris is saying, to go out and figure out what to do and don't just be a follower, then yeah, man, there's a lot of strength from that position.
A lot.
I don't think you can get beat from that position.
Put strength in my legs. I like how you said that in episode 46.
Yeah.
You did. Cool. You had a good episode, man. That was cool.
Thanks, man. Appreciate you sharing all those clips.
Yeah, it was just very it was just really cool, the timing of that episode. I mean, very synchronous, and there's some really cool opportunities that are presenting themselves. So I'm not going to say anything further until everything's locked in, but you know, it's cool.
Yeah.
I think all the content was very relevant to like real life right now.
That's for sure.
And let's touch on that real quick. All right.
Yeah.
How we probably, it's been a few episodes since we really said this, but we're living the same thing, man. Like, we're in the grind with you. Ultimate Pill fam, like, we're in this.
Yeah.
You know, we're working hard on our passion and creative journey, which is ourself and our life in general, just as you are. All right. So keep going, man. Keep grinding, keep hustling, keep working hard. Like, certainly the challenging task will ultimately make you feel better in the long run.
Yeah.
You know, and I could say that specifically for, I got a little down and out for a few days and had to take a little bit of time off from any fitness or movement. And finally yesterday was like, no, you got to like get up and do something. So put my weighted vest on with my brother-in-law and just went for a walk, you know? And I even told my brother-in-law ahead of time, I was like, hey, take it easy on me, man. But like halfway through it, I looked at him and I was like, man, I'm so glad we did this.
Yeah.
Because I feel so much better, dude.
Yep.
So just keep going, keep grinding, keep doing those challenging things that in the moment, there's probably something easier that we could be doing. But in the long run, I think it pays off to make that right choice in the moment, man.
Yeah. So
I'm a big fan of small things done consistently over an extended period of time and creates a large amount of success. And I think that defines me, man.
Yeah.
Because I've been grinding at this for like 15 years and I'm nowhere near where I need to be. But, you know, I'm excited about closing out 23 and, man, I'm so excited for 2024.
Yeah, man.
Like, I'm here now, don't worry.
Yeah.
But 2024 is going to be an awesome experience, man. We're going to close a couple chapters and open up a new one for sure.
Yeah. Well, that just even in the changing of the year is another way we're in a time of transition. Because what you were referencing earlier was that, yeah, like in the real world right now, what's going on is, especially for me, you are still technically in a position of transition, but I'm definitely in a position of transition and trying to, like you said, we're the things we talked about, especially on the last episode, we're doing. Like,
Yeah.
we're going out and
I have been stressed the past 2 weeks.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, you have.
And you know how, and I'm so like, what a egotistical thing on my part to like not be able to say that for so many years. Like, I would always allude to like, yeah, I just got to put in more work here. I just got to, you know, do this and that. And I definitely focused on the stress enhancing mindset, you know, developed by Carol Dweck, like, and her colleagues, like, super amazing stuff, very practical. It's just simply based off your belief of what the stress is there to do for you.
Yeah.
So been focusing on that, but yeah, man, the past 2 weeks has been stressful and it's felt like a transition, but that's where I'm at, man.
Yeah. Because you're getting your degree.
Friday I take my graduate exam, so
Right after Thanksgiving.
day after.
Jeez, that's tough.
On those walks, I'm playing study guides.
Yeah.
In the car, I'm playing study guides.
Yeah. It's good. You're gonna get it though.
I'm treating it as it's going to be much, like people say, it's not as hard as you think it will be. I'm still treating it like it's going to be extremely hard.
Yeah, that's a good way to approach it.
For sure.
That's good.
I'd rather be pleasantly surprised in a positive way.
Yeah.
Makes sense in a lot of ways. Thinking about transitions.
Yeah. In preparation for that transition and what's on the other side. Yeah, man. Tons of change.
It's made better to think, damn, it's going to be rough.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. That way you're at least prepared. I think it's in Signs, the movie by M. Night Shyamalan with Mel Gibson with aliens, which I love. But he says, I think it's Mel Gibson's character. He says, prepare for the worst, but hope for the best.
Yeah.
I felt like that was always such a simple way to live.
Yeah. I like that one.
Yeah.
I think it was Coach John Wooden said, plan like you're going to live forever and live like you're going to die tomorrow.
That's good.
That's a cool one.
There you go.
That's
but
cool.
definitely a very good approach and mindset to have in a time of transition or chasing or moving things around like what we're doing, like trying to set up our lives really in a way that will help us chase after our dreams and accomplish them, man, which we're doing every day. So
yeah,
that's where we're at. And that's, I feel like we're headed down this episode. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I mean, transitions, those can be tough.
Yeah.
And when I think that's what we'll do tonight. We'll explore the idea of transitions and how to successfully navigate and manage those transitions.
Yeah.
And think about it, like transitions can be more things than we can even talk about.
Yeah.
In an hour. Like there's transitions nonstop.
Yeah.
Like your transition is so different than my transition. Like mine was like a personal transition. Like,
yeah,
figured some things out that used to interfere with my own relationship with myself.
yeah,
Like, if that's my big thing now, help people develop a positive relationship with themselves. Like, I got really serious about doing that for myself because I don't think I was doing a good job, man.
yeah,
So I had to transition. That was, but relationship transitions, work transitions. I mean, you name it.
yeah. The actual physical location transitions, like moving and
That's a transition.
that stuff. Yeah, I mean, it's tough. Which, I mean, I can speak on that. I think we moved 11 times by the time I was 14. So by the time I was entering my freshman year, I had moved as a family 11 times. So that type of transition, yeah, man,
It's a lot.
I think there's a lot of good to explore here. I mean, to me, I'm automatically started thinking back to fear, because a lot of times when we're in the process of making the decision to make a transition, it might be a job change, it might be a location change. I think for me personally, I always go back to, it's like that creeping doubt that comes up, and it's like, well, what if this fails? What if this is the wrong move? And there's no way to know. And it's maybe that's where humility comes in, is like the humility to accept, well, you can't know if this is the right or wrong move. The humility from that standpoint, at least for me, again, personally, allows me then to transition into the understanding that, again, another topic we talked about last episode, which is that failure doesn't mean it's the end. And even if this is the wrong decision, you'll still live on the other side, and you'll make a plan and you'll figure it out, and you'll get back to work and put your nose on the grindstone. But again, that's
I like that.
I only have that understanding because I lived through it. I mean, man, like once I got out of college, it was just a constant up and down, job-wise, career-wise, following the dream of trying to find consistent income. Where am I going to live? What am I doing? Am I going to get to eat this month, kind of thing? Because when you're a freelance videographer, especially back then, talking like 2016, 2017, there wasn't really a lot. I mean, it was hard to get consistent income, especially if you're freelancing. So, but I learned and I understood through that. You'll figure it out, bro. I took a job, worked there for 8 months, realized it wasn't for me. Scary to leave that consistent income, but I did it. And then, you're floating, and then you figure it out. Like, so anyway, getting back to transition and what holds us back from preparing for that, I feel like a lot of that is fear and what if this fails? What if this isn't the right decision?
Absolutely. Context matters, bro. 100%.
Yeah.
100%. I think that's something that it's super important to consider.
Yeah.
Context matters. So when fear, like, certainly is a thing, and I think, fear is definitely something that prevents like, for example, like if I was afraid to really figure out like some of those things that I figured out about myself the past couple weeks, like I wouldn't have done it.
Right.
I wouldn't have taken that transition.
Right.
Even, and you can even think about that opportunity. Maybe transitions are opportunities too.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
That's putting it in the right context.
Yeah. But you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Context matters, man.
Yeah, for sure.
So, you have to really look at your environment and say, okay, it's not necessarily what is happening. It's how it's happening.
Yeah.
And that's really important during a transition in anything.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's kind of what I was able to put my finger on a little bit, was it's not what's happening out there, dude. Like, that just is what it is, right?
Yep.
But how that is happening is under your control.
Yes.
And how that is happening is literally a direct reflection of what you are as a person.
Yeah.
Because what is happening out there is how it's happening in here. And I've gotten pretty clear on that, to where for that to be of positive nature, the relationship with self has to be solid, man.
Yeah.
So I'm big on that right now. And I may be saying relationship with self a lot during this episode, because it's something I've really been able to figure out. But during a transition, like you're talking about right there, if you're feeling fear, if you're feeling all those things, first of all, normal. It's just the autonomic, it's just the system. It's just the sympathetic system kicking in, saying, yo, something here needs to be paid attention to, right? So check out that context. It's there to almost ignite and activate you. Yeah. Like, hey, pay attention. You're about to contend with some things that you haven't before. So focus up and, make sure you're paying attention to your environment. Yeah. But at that point, it becomes, how's it happening? Yeah. Yeah. How's it happening?
I think we keep coming back to this because I feel like this is the root of the issue, and maybe that's a recurring core theme of the Ultimate Pill, but it is this relationship with self. It's It's not the what of what's happening, it is the how. And I think kind of underlying all of it, we could rephrase this as a framing problem. Like maybe if you're struggling if you're struggling with depression, anxiety, or you're in a constant state of fear as to chasing after, you've listened to the couple episodes that we talked about being creative with your life and chasing the dream, but you're afraid to take that next step. Or you're afraid to leave one career path and go into the next. The root of the issue might be exactly what you're talking about, Chris, which is, and to me, is a framing issue. You're framing your experience of life through all of the data that is the sense output of your environment, but instead you should be framing the experience of your life based on how you're framing that experience and data in your mind, which is the how, which is the how am I interpreting this, how am I sifting through it? I don't know, I just keep coming back to a framing issue.
Yeah.
And that's metaphysical idealism, which we've talked about a lot, and something that's near and dear to my heart. But
that's perfect. And just to provide even some more practicality on like what reframing can look like is focus on your beliefs and your thought patterns.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a good place to start.
Yeah.
100%. Because a belief will ultimately influence how you feel. Because like we talked about before in the show, a belief. Okay. Feeling comes from okay, there we go. I got it. Thank y'all. getting my words in order here. Okay. A feeling comes from the brain's belief about the state of the body. So when I say all that, and Anthony's talking about reframing, if you can reframe some of those self-limiting beliefs into more empowering, encouraging ones, your brain is literally going to tell your body that it's in a good state, and it's what they call its body budget and its allocation of energy, because it's metabolic at that point, right?
Yeah.
It's metabolic. Like belief is metabolic, which is really cool because if your belief is fear-based, right, with this transition, your brain is telling your body through a belief, yo, we got to exert massive amounts of energy and you don't have enough. And it's all, you know, it's not equilibration is what they call it, right?
Yeah.
But it's out of balance essentially.
Yeah.
But when that belief becomes a little bit more empowering, like I said earlier, then the literal message to the body is, hey, we're in a good place. Keep doing what you're doing. And that's what's really cool about belief. So long-winded to say, focus on the beliefs and how they're framed, like Anthony said. And then from that, you could start paying attention to the thoughts and which ones you even pay attention to.
Yeah.
Which is really cool.
Yeah. So we're talking about times of transition, which leads us into how we interpret and prepare for those times of transition, because they can be scary, they can be hard, which led us into talking about the importance of the relationship with self, which led us into talking about reframing and how we model the experiences of reality. And you're talking about how that comes down to beliefs. And so maybe it's a good place to explore, as we've worked down this ladder of depth, this hierarchy of depth, to this issue of transitioning. Maybe it's good to explore what holds us back from being able to rest solidly in those beliefs that will help us frame things in a positive manner, and then therefore get the return of positive energy from our bodies and our experience from that. And I immediately go to the emotions. I'd be interested to see what you think, but like for me personally, I can think of this in my life. It's, I guess, natural for us to immediately revert back to wherever the emotions lie, which I feel like are down here in the stomach, but like you get stuck in that reactive emotional, whatever that emotion is, as a reaction to that, whatever experience you're having. And so for me, part of that battle to gain a healthy relationship with self via the beliefs and how I'm interpreting things, it's like you've got to get through that wall of emotion that is our immediate reaction to experience. And I think one way that helps this, and kind of an underlying worldview to everything we're talking about, is you have to understand that, I love this phrase, your autonomy is a fiction. So I feel like a lot of people, myself included, used to think of myself as this solid being, but even just in what you've talked about, we've already talked about a multi-layered process. I mean, it's bodily, it's mental, it's metabolic. Yeah. It's so, and we could go even further and expound further. So, and I think the emotions are a part of that. That's why I brought that up. So to revert to an emotional response in an experience automatically, if you can have the understanding and the framing to realize, okay, well, that's just one part of me.
Yeah.
I don't have to be I don't have to identify with emotions, which you've talked about. You know, I don't have to be just solely emotional in a reaction. I can take a step outside of that, which is, again, metaphysical idealism helped me with this, and realize that the emotions or the thought reactions that I have to an experience, or even the experience itself, the data of what's coming in, I'm something that's outside and behind all of that. So I don't have to be stuck in just that. So for me, that's one of the biggest detriments to having positive beliefs. I don't know where you would go.
No, it is down all the way down. It's emotion for sure.
Yeah.
But before we even go there, I'm gonna say real quick on the belief and thought, and then go to emotion, because again, that's incredibly valuable what you just said. But cognitive behavior therapy, I think, is tons of resources online, tons of counselors practice it, and that's essentially what you're referring to with reframing belief and thought, and believing that human beings are rational. You know, that's the natural nature. Like, it's so with belief and thought. And if you did want some more information about it, like, Google cognitive behavior therapy, and it's CBT. You'll have tons of resources. Really goes exactly to what Anthony was saying earlier about just the way you're interpreting and assuming, right? And attributing to the world and the goals that come from that. And that can all be really supported through CBT. So, but to travel down into the emotion, that's the foundation for sure. And it comes from what's cool, right? What we landed on emotion a couple episodes back is emotion comes from the meaning that our brain places on an experience. So that's where context comes in, right? So meaning is like the forefront. That's like the star in the night sky, you know, meaning.
Yeah.
That's the foundation. But emotion comes from that. And what's really cool, and kind of what you were alluding to, was a lot of negative emotion comes from when we place our emotional state on objects that are outside ourselves.
Yes.
And are outside our control, shall we even say, and more so that there's a variability to where how this can either positively or negatively damage my relationship with myself, right? That's like something outside there. So what I say, if you place your sense of satisfaction, say on a car, a relationship, money, anything outside that is susceptible and vulnerable to the ebbs and flows of life itself, you're going to constantly be in a state of angst.
Yeah.
That's fear. If we're talking about fear and transitions, like, that's what it is. Like, if we're focused on out there, okay, what if this job doesn't work out? Or what if where we go, we don't meet the people we meet, or all these different variables that, unfortunately, right now, there's not much we can do about them. So the meaning that we're placing on that is not very powerful. It's not very healing.
God, yeah.
So when you can then kind of just sit there and think, okay, the source of my satisfaction is the effort, the practice, the support, the actual verb state that I am throughout this process is going to be one of pick your positive emotion. Courage, that's a great one. That's life supported, man.
Yeah.
You are above the line at courage.
Peace.
Dude, if you can be at peace through a transition, you are a Jedi.
Yeah.
You are a black belt.
That's what I'm trying to do.
You know?
Yeah.
If you can be but that's essentially what if you're at peace, you are peace. It's how it's happening, not what's happening.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I'm so glad you went to emotion, because it is, man.
Yeah.
Because that's your energetic state.
Yeah.
Is the emotion, the energy and motion that you're expressing has a calibrated scale.
God.
So if your fear, guilt, grief, all that stuff comes from when we're putting the source of our satisfaction outside ourselves, because we're not living like the natural life. Bring that stuff back in. Take your power back, like we said back in the 20s, I think. Take your power back.
Yeah.
In that tough time, in that challenge, in that transition, put your power back in your chest. Get that strength in your legs, and then understand that you can do this. I can do this. I got the willpower and resiliency to make freaking Lemonade out of lemons, bro.
Yep. I love it. That's so relevant to times of transition. I feel like in times of transition, it's hard because we do have that natural inclination to export our power into external objects.
Yeah.
You know, like,
is the family going to be happy?
Yeah.
Man,
I mean, just a bunch of stuff that you have no control over, and stressing over it and having these anxiety induced, comatose states because of the unawares and the variables that you can't control in a situation. Like, that does nothing but hurt you. And probably actually, in a way, that could be a self-fulfilling prophecy. It will fail because you're putting yourself in a situation to fail.
Yes.
And you're not going to be able to take the opportunity. Yeah. So I love that. And it's like, I'm just listening to you talk about it. And I'm like, God, it's so much easier to say than do. Like, but just to give an example, like, to show you guys that we do go through this. I mean, we're last night, yesterday, me and Haley, and then her sister and her mother, and her sister just has a newborn. So little Nora, who's 7 months old, we all drove to San Antonio to meet with her aunt so they could help plan the wedding and stuff like that.
Cool.
2-hour drive. All right. So on the way back, been there all day, hanging out with family, but beautiful home, beautiful people, but planning the wedding, blah, blah, blah. So we left about 5. And bro, like little Nora goes into one of her fits in the car ride. Don't know why. Screaming bloody murder. Which, first of all, I started thinking about it, like, on a psychological level as a human being, that's probably not enjoyable to us because there's like a subconscious, like,
trigger telling you that take care of child.
Yeah, right. But I think she's just fed up being in the car seat, bro. Like, we got an hour down the road and then we hit that Austin traffic. So now you have the baby crying, which she can't speak. It's not her fault.
True. Traffic,
what can you do about that? And just those 2 factors alone, it was like you could feel the tension of frustration for everybody in the car because it's like, you're doing just constant screaming bloody murder and you're stuck in traffic after a long day.
Yes.
Right. So, and it's like my immediate reaction was like, this is frustrating, and then I realized, like you're saying, okay, the baby, that's the only language that she knows. Like, she only knows to scream. Same with the dog. They only know how to bark.
Gets it. Hello, everyone. Meet Roxy.
Yeah, Roxy loves to try and sneak on the show. But yeah, I'm
going to close the window so it's not.
Okay. Yeah, close the windows.
Is that better?
It's better. It's
all right,
still
good.
Here, but I think Mike, our one audience member, had to step out for a phone call, so she's barking at him.
Oh.
But
I didn't know that. Okay, that makes sense. Hopefully she doesn't bite him.
No, she should be good. He's a big guy. He'll be able to handle himself.
All right.
Shout out to Mike Banagoo.
Yeah,
as
man.
our one live studio audience. He's a good dude. He came down. We got Travis Scott tickets tonight, so going to that. But anyway,
keep it ripping. Let's go.
Yeah, to say we go through this, bro, and I think you can all listening probably think of a very recent experience where you've gotten frustrated, you've got angered over external objects that you have no control over, and it is a battle. It's like we're sitting here talking about it, and it's very clearly the answer. But it's like, I know because I just went through it less than 24 hours ago. It's like it is a freaking battle. Like the emotions.
I've got to go because it's just, this is so relevant what you just said. For the record, that's a transition right there.
Yeah.
Think about everything you described. Really, a transition is just a different
change of location,
change in a story, right? Like if you look at it in a story format.
Yeah, it's a new scene.
But most importantly, like, feeling the frustration is normal. Like, I think let's make sure that we're okay with that and knowing that we're not always going to be happy. Yeah. Like, that is freaking Hakuna Matata. It's not like the right state. Like, there's going to be struggle. There's going to be those moments to where that frustration, that anger arises. Now, ultimately, yes, I certainly have a process to move you through that. And it's actually very simple, right? It's acknowledge it, welcome it, and utilize it. So you got to first I am actually feeling anger right now.
Yep.
Or I'm feeling judgment.
Yeah.
Or, okay, all right. Now welcome it, okay? Just be with it for a little bit and then utilize it to move into a higher state.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that could honestly happen by just not contributing to the chaos that's already happening.
Right.
It's okay to just sit there and not have an opinion about things.
And that's
and have to help.
Yeah.
That's what I've gone through.
Yeah.
It's like, you don't always have to help.
Yeah. Yeah. But that,
and if you didn't, dude, I'm going to slow down because I'm telling you, that's so cool that we went there with that. But seriously, that sometimes in those moments that you're in that car, just sitting there silently and then awaiting the opportunity, if a request ever comes from you, that's a very positive place to be in.
Right. Yeah.
So seriously, y'all, like, don't think it's bad to oftentimes feel these negative emotions. That's normal.
Yeah.
Okay. But look at them as a sign to say that you got to really pay attention and put yourself in a place that's going to make this a situation that is at least not worse because of your presence.
Yeah.
Acknowledge it, welcome it, and then utilize it, man.
Yep.
That's also a model that we can use for stress.
Yeah.
You know?
I just, that stuck out to me because that right there is a reframing of what I said, because I was talking about reframing is so hard because of the emotions, but what you're doing is reframing the emotions to say, no, they're not an obstacle. It's a springboard, which I love. It's like,
it's there.
That last step of that, the utilization. I loved how you said, like, that was like a light bulb moment for me. It was like, well, utilize the emotion to get to a higher state.
Yeah.
It's almost at that point you can become in a state of gratitude. It's like, oh, thanks, frustration.
Yeah.
Because now you're giving me the opportunity to learn how to battle, like springboard you, use you to springboard me into a higher state of peace. Or whatever that aim is. But
For sure. What's up with the relationship with myself that I'm feeling so pissed off right now? Why can't I just be chill?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Said to my brother-in-law yesterday, he was like, the dogs were tussling around. It was one of those moments where I was like, that actually meant something. But anyways, dogs are tussling around and he's, Draco, stop, dude. And I just said, you know, dude, honestly, bro, I've noticed that if you don't say anything, it's not as, it doesn't turn out as serious.
Yeah. They get worked up by you getting worked up.
And then he kind of looked at me, like walked away, left him alone. They tussled for about another 12 seconds and then noticed that no one cared anymore.
Yep.
And I was like, oh, wow, Chris, like that makes sense. Think about that with anything.
That's what I was going to say.
Think about that in that moment in that car.
How fitting of a metaphor is that for every situation like that? Subbing the dog.
We don't always have to have an opinion, man. Yeah. That's power, bro.
Yeah. You don't have to always get your hands in there. Just let it play.
Let it play out.
But I wanted to make note because your first two steps of that 3-step response to emotion, same again, it was acknowledge, welcome. None of that is identify with. Because I feel like, again, that's our immediate response naturally is I am blank, whatever the emotion is. No. Acknowledgement is saying what you just said, what I love is I am feeling this.
Right.
Instead of I am it.
Exactly.
I'm feeling it. It's something, by just framing it in that line, you're...
Nice affirmation, actually. Yeah, that's good, bro.
You're externalizing it in something that's not solely you.
Yep.
So
right now, I am feeling, blank. However, I am only subject to what I hold in mind. I am not subject to that. Therefore, choose something more powerful.
Yep. Love it.
And yeah.
Yeah. So that could be an exercise. That's a very practical response exercise for any time you're in a time of transition and feeling that, that hardship, the hardness of it.
I got another one too, actually, I remember that we'll talk about for transitions. But no, we'll finish this one.
Well, I just think that's probably a good place to bring it in because I think that's a good summarization. That's a practical step for...
Yeah, acknowledge, welcome, and then utilize it. That could be used for emotion as well as stress. I used it for stress.
Yeah.
But I wrote this down earlier. The stages of transition. 1 is growth. The 2nd is exploration. 3 is establishment. And 4 is maintenance. So I pulled that actually from, I think it was a career theory and counseling that I was studying about this morning that I pulled from it. But I thought, that's very relevant to if we're going to talk about transitions today, but I think that's also a pretty cool model to put in transition. The 5th one was decline because it was talking about like the person's like work. Eventually your career starts to decline when you're like older, like fixing to retire.
And that's when you start the process over.
But I didn't put that in here.
Yeah.
I kept that one out.
Yeah.
The decline in the theory itself is literally saying like the person's coming to the end of their working career.
Oh, gotcha.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But a transition's like ever evolving.
Right.
It's like an upward spiral.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
To the heavenly gods that is your dream, awaiting your presence.
There you go.
Just become aware.
Yeah.
But
so what was it again? It's growth.
So yeah, growth, man. Growth, exploration, establishment, and maintenance. So let's pick it apart real quick. So think in the idea of transitions, right? And we're talking about transitions happen every day. I think a different context can literally be, if you really want to live a conscious life, like every change of context is a transition.
Yeah.
That's going to require essentially a new experience of you.
Yes. Okay. So can we can we put a book in right there or put a footnote? Because I'm so glad you said that. That almost like you can't escape transition in a sense. Now, here's where I bet is the source for a lot of people's frustration in life daily is the struggling against that natural law that is you will face transition every day. Because this is something Mike and I were talking about on the way down here. We're talking about AI and in my field of filmmaking and in his field, and how he even said, he was like, I don't want to be the guy that's 50 or 60 and was too afraid to be adaptable, to be progressive into a new technology and get left behind. Like Blockbuster, Mike used a good example of Blockbuster. When Netflix was coming on the scene, Blockbuster had a chance to be like Netflix. If you remember, Netflix started early off where you could just rent DVDs.
Yeah.
At a space they had
Remember
no store.
that Netflix. I got to tell this dog to stop.
Okay,
yapping.
okay, all right.
I don't know. I don't know if y'all can hear Roxy, but I got to let him know real quick.
Did you scare Roxy, Mike?
Roxy! Roxy, it's okay, Bubba. Good girl. It's okay.
He's a friend.
It's okay. Hey, actually, should we let her in? And then I think that'll...
Yeah.
Yeah, let's let her in. Keep talking, man. I'll be back.
Okay. Chris is going to get his little monster dog, Roxy. Mike, come on. Come stand in.
No.
Come on, man.
No way.
Come stand in, bro.
I'm good.
Just say hi. Just come say hi. I'll put this in there.
What's up, fam?
Say hi to the camera.
How y'all doing?
We're on video too, man. Big Mike Bannaguap.
I love it.
What are we doing tonight?
Watching Travis Scott perform.
We're about to go to Utopia.
Yeah, it's gonna be a trip.
Hopefully we come back.
Not like what you think either. Maybe like what you think.
Hopefully we come back.
Hopefully we come.
What up, Mike?
Mike was standing in for
Yeah,
you.
first guest appearance.
Yep.
Live.
Our live audience member.
First live audience member.
That's why you got to come to the shows. You never know. You might get put on the show.
All right, I think Roxy should be good now,
Good.
man. Now she's just barking
Parking
inside.
inside. Why is she upset?
Because Big Mike.
Yeah, stranger. That's how she was. Remember when I first started coming over? She
Yeah.
hated me. God, I gotta get it. You're good, man. Big Mike, come over here. What's the one song you're hoping Travis plays tonight?
I know he's not playing it, but I would love Schizo to play.
That's a good one.
A lot of people sleep on it. If you think about it, there's 4 beat changes in the song.
Yep.
4. It's crazy.
I feel like Travis is really good at that. Because even in an Antidote is like 3 songs.
Yeah, you're right.
When he first came on the scene, he was good at that. And now everybody wants to do like a beat change.
Exactly. And then him and Drake always do some kind of beat changes.
Yeah.
Meltdown's gonna play. So Schizo. And then what other song was I upset about?
I think you said you messaged me.
Oh, Houston Fornication.
Yes. God, that's a good song.
That's also, I think it's 3 or 2 beat changes. Can't
Yeah. Yeah. Good. Okay, so Mike can be our musical liaison for the show
All right.
because he is a professional at musical interpretation of modern rap and pop tunes.
Send it.
So anytime we need to like do like a call, a deep dive into music, we'll call Mike.
Dude, consider it done.
Mike is the musical liaison of the Ultimate Pill.
Consider it done. You were talking about Netflix, bro.
Yeah.
And Blockbuster not being able to
Adapt.
be agile.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and I think the point I'm trying to make is being open to transition and understanding what you just said, which I thought was so good, that it is a natural law. It's a law of nature that you're going to face transition and change. And I feel like a lot of frustration, a lot of hardship comes from the pushback to that. And the Netflix example is just a good example. Like they were coming on the scene doing something completely different, and Blockbuster had a chance, and they said, no, we're going to stick to our old system. We're going to stick to what we've known. That doesn't really make sense to us. And Netflix kept pushing. There was ups and downs. They thought they were going to go, and then they started a streaming platform, because that's what we were talking about on the way down here. It's like, if you remember when the streaming platforms first came out, people in the film community especially were like what is, like, kind of scared of it. It's like, what is this? I don't like this. It's not a good idea. Like, there's no actual physical hard copy. And there are negatives to it, right? Like losing a hard copy. Like, Netflix can decide to take a movie down tomorrow, and if you don't have a hard copy, how are you going to see it? You know, you got to hope that another platform has it. But so that's just a negative. But ultimately, what I'm saying is, transition, like you said, is a natural law. You're going to have to face it, and having the progressive openness for being able to transition in all its hardship. Not saying it's not hard, but I think that's where we're getting the practical effects. And then I think where you're going with this, it's like transition is an opportunity for growth.
Absolutely. And dude, we've been using the word transition for the past 40 something minutes. I think it's change.
Yeah, it is. It's change. Change is going to happen.
And what's really cool about that idea is creation is change.
So you can take change and make it into creation.
Absolutely.
There we go.
Absolutely.
That's good.
And you gotta, if we really think about it on like what creation is, man, like if you can be innovative and go into it with that type of context, right? Or that type of mindset, like I'm going to be very innovative in this change or this new transition that I'm experiencing. And I'm almost going to be like a couple steps ahead.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to prepare myself and learn and study and understand this change that I'm fixing to experience and create something that's really special for life itself.
That's good.
So to be innovative like that's what I was thinking about, man. Like for those companies that just could not, they were too fixed, man. They weren't in a growth state.
Yep.
In a state of change.
Yeah.
Potential manifesting, man.
Yeah.
And that comes going back to what I think the emotional state that you engage in that change with.
Right. Right.
Like you're going to attract better conditions for you to create success if you're coming at it from a positive state of emotion that can be developed, bro, through focusing on how it's being experienced.
Yep.
And maybe that's why, dude, let's jump back into this thing and let's pick it apart and let's see if it makes sense. Because again, I wrote it down.
Yeah. And
I'm not even sure if it's a thing, but let's see the stages of transition. Again, the first one is growth. So maybe what we're just talking about right there is any change that you're experiencing in life. Should we just start using the word change?
Yeah, let's just change. Yeah.
Okay. Any change that you're experiencing in your life, if you go into it with a growth mindset, that goes back to everything we talked about earlier, reframing. That's what a growth mindset is. A growth mindset is a belief that with effort and practice, you can cultivate your skills and abilities. That seems to me a very powerful belief to head into any change that we're about to take head on.
I absolutely agree. I just started, when you started about that, I started thinking about the employee. Imagine the guy or gal. It doesn't matter what field you're in, what your job is, but if every time some unexpected change happened to you and your company and the people you work with, and while everybody else is like complaining and panicking about, oh, look at what corporate's making, corporate's coming down and making us do this training or whatever. And it's like, what if to have a person, how valuable would that person be that's like growth mindset oriented and it's like takes every opportunity of change / transition into how can we make this an opportunity? How can we, and you already have those thoughts and approach and mindset, and you're already presenting solutions. I think we've talked about this before, but being growth mindset,
solution focused,
is solution focused, right? To every instance. And it's like, man, it's like really showing me the utility of practicing that ability to take on that growth mindset and your beliefs, like almost daily. Like, for example, the car ride that I was talking about, like,
glad you went back to that. Like that was sitting there and humbly waiting for a request because you felt nothing really of value could have been presented in the moment. So you just sat there and humbly, patiently waited is a very growth minded, in my opinion, behavior in that moment.
Yeah.
100%.
Yep.
100%. Because I'm sure if you're driving, you're focused, this is happening. Everyone, maybe you're not participating in it. You're just waiting. Hey, Anthony, we need to stop in at the gas station. Got you. Not, dude, we're in traffic already.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like being all like influenced by the environment. Like, no, man, like you are the source of your experience. Like it is subjective.
Yep.
Like how that is being experienced out there is exactly how it's being experienced in here.
Mm-hmm. I love it. Yeah. And to me that's like reps now. So not only were you able to help us with the 3-step process in response to emotion, reframe the emotion as an opportunity to springboard you into a higher state. But now I'm seeing that as like a little micro rep for the bigger situations, like at work. Like if your boss comes to you and is like, hey, we got to start doing this now. And everybody on your team's complaining. And if you've repped that enough, that response change,
for sure,
that reframing, you can now be the person that takes a situation like that everybody else has no external control over. And instead of complaining about it and making the situation worse potentially by your response, you're a guy that's presenting solutions. And I tell you right now, it doesn't matter what field or medium you're in. If you're that person, if you're that employee, you are going to be highly, highly valuable, and you're probably going to get a lot of good out of it.
Yes.
Like if you just want to think about it on a practical, what can I get out of this level? If that's your response to every issue, because issues pop up no matter what field you're in. But if your response is always like, well, how can we turn this into an opportunity? Here's a way that we can make a solution out of this. Hey, we have no control over that. While everyone's complaining, be like, dude, it's coming from the top. There's nothing we can do.
Yep.
But here's what we can make it into.
Yep.
You know, if corporate's coming down saying you got to do this training thing, and it's like, man, that's stupid. Well, what if we could turn it into a team bonding issue? Like we'll teach what we need to teach, and then maybe this will be a great opportunity for us to learn each other better. You know, whatever.
For sure.
You know, so you're going to be a highly sought after person, no matter what field you're in.
Absolutely. And you've got to rep it. Like you said, so important. You've got to rep it. All these things that we're talking about are strengths that develop through repetition and practice and intention and devotion.
Yep.
You've got to rep these things that we talk about on the Ultimate Pill.
Yeah.
In that moment, to remain at peace in traffic with a crying baby in the car, you've got to have repped how to be at peace, or the ego is going to take over, man, in that moment. And that survival instinct is going to kick in. That primal rage is gonna, it's tough, man. So yes, you've got to develop the fortitude to do this stuff.
Yeah.
100%. So rep it.
So now
practice it.
Now you can look at,
be okay being looked at like a fool. Like, what the heck?
Yeah.
He's over there changing for the better. Like, what
who
the
cares? But like, I'm thinking of people listening, like you might be listening to us right now in traffic and you're getting frustrated.
Yeah, dude.
But now you can look at it as a rep. Hey, this is a rep. I'm
Rep
working
it.
out.
Rep it.
I'm working out how to respond to the external data of life experience.
Mental fortitude rep.
Yeah, bro. That's awesome.
Mental fortitude
Some
rep
good
for
stuff.
sure. Let's explore it now, which is the second stage here. It says, you know what I've been big on lately is that Common commercial.
Common?
Where he's like getting his hair cut.
Common the rapper?
And there's a mirror in front of him. And it's Common. I think it's a Visa commercial or something.
Isn't it Common bald?
He's getting his beard cleaned up.
Okay.
Yeah, man. He's in a bar.
He's a haircut.
Yeah. Yeah. You're right. Maybe he gets his. You know, a lot of people
he gets
go
it shaved. All right.
A lot of people go get it shaved. But anyway, I don't even know if I'm allowed to say that, but I think it's Visa. Not sure exactly what the company is, but it's a Common commercial.
Yeah.
And he's looking at the mirror, and the mirror is giving him a different response than the Common sitting in the chair. And that every time it comes on a lot during football, and every time it's on, after it ends, I'm like, dude, that commercial means something, man.
It's deep.
Like, keep thinking and I promise you, I thought about it a lot.
Yeah.
And I got to thinking, man, maybe exploration and this change that we're experiencing comes about when we, like that commercial, listen to what the reflection's saying to us and not what we ourselves are saying.
Love that.
And that's a thought exercise for sure. But like literally, what if you're looking at a reflection and it was telling exactly what you truly believe, what would that say? And that's, guess what? I think that's where you get into the unconscious, man.
Yeah.
Which is cool, because then you get into those unconscious beliefs and needs and mechanisms and processes that govern a lot of our behaviors, being that if we had to literally pay attention for every single thing that ever happened in every life, it'd be overwhelming, right?
For sure.
So the unconscious is there for a reason. But in those tough moments of change or transition, maybe, hey, what is the reflection of what I really am telling me right now?
Yeah.
And then what do I need to adjust in order to make this
Good.
something of worth or of value
Yeah.
or significance.
Yeah. I think that's healthy relationship with self. I think
That's actually where it helped me a lot get to that. Was that?
I think that's listening and responding to that platonic daemon that I think we talked about. That to me, it's the Sufi angel that you have. It's the non-dualistic eternal self. It's the metaphysical hyper consciousness that's behind. So yeah, there's a lot of people and a lot of practices that have been talking about that. That's good, man. Yeah, I think
I like self with a capital S.
Yeah, and I think that's what Jung would call it. But like being able to, Plato's only talked to him in a negative manner, like in the sense like only told him no, not what to do. And I think a lot of us, shoot, man, even myself, like the cause for transition that I'm in now and change was because of a realization that I had betrayed myself in the sense that I had tried to give up the passion for film. And that self in the mirror was constantly nagging me, being like, bro, I don't know what'll come of it, but you're meant to be exploring, chasing, creating this.
Nice.
And I fought it. It was like, well, it's not practical. There's no...
Because it's staring at you the whole time.
Yeah, bro.
Like, come on.
So my point to that is, and I'm not pointing the finger here, I've done it. Like, I feel like a lot of us betray that self in the mirror. And it could be in the subtlest ways. It could be in the conversation that you're having with someone at work and they say something that doesn't sit right or you don't believe to be true and it's a negative thought or a negative belief. And you're like, ooh, there's that part of you. It's like, it's your conscious. It's Jiminy Cricket. It's like, hey, that's not right. But you go, oh yeah, bro, I know. Yeah, I agree. Just to keep the peace or keep the conversation going. It's like, that's a little micro betrayal where you shut down that self in the mirror. And even though, because this is, I think, something we need to bring up, like answering and living by that self in the mirror, it may cause conflict in the external world because you're being true and genuine to yourself, and a lot of people aren't, I feel like.
But you also know why you feel
yeah,
those negative emotions because you're aware of what's really being told to you by
that self. Yeah,
that self.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So that we're not all, sitting atop a mountain, legs crossed, like living an enlightened life. Like we're still going to have to deal with, the day-to-day challenges, but ultimately it's that, man. Like it's always going to be there. And big thing too is like, what we're really talking about is just giving yourself something of like true like value to you, like wherever you are. Okay, let me dive a little bit better on that one. Is like, I'm going to use our show, for example. Like we record this show on our own time. We do everything on our own. It's you and I, and we're loving the process because that's what it's all about for us. But we also live full-time lives, have families, jobs, all these things, right? So you could still be doing that thing that brings you to life while still maintaining your responsibilities.
Yep.
Because that's very meaningful. Yeah. So let's, it's not like, let me drop everything and go pursue my dream. It's like, no.
That's kind of naive.
You should probably have, at least get your ducks in a row.
Yeah.
Your butterflies in a row as you move on. But start now, and who knows what it can be like in 10 years.
Exactly.
Like, think about how long, like right now sitting here, you and I have been doing something that is somewhat associated with creating a podcast, whether that's motivational, life coaching, content making, filmmaking, you name it, for 10 plus years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And all of a sudden, as you're devoted and your intention is for the best, you start to notice the opportunities that you may not have noticed before. Mm-hmm. And things just start to change based off that sheer fact that, during this change, I decided to really explore the relationship with myself and who I am.
Yep.
By listening to what would be the reflection in the mirror telling me the true intention of what is intended for me.
Yep.
So
Michael Jackson's Man in the Mirror.
Check out
that song?
Dude, check out that. I mean, Coach Evans says it's always the man in the mirror.
Yeah.
Like,
I think he's getting that from Michael Jackson, though.
I mean, it's we've all heard it.
Yeah.
But like, really, like, what is it saying?
Yeah,
and
right.
what that is saying is probably at least worth your awareness for a little bit.
Yep.
And make sure that
At least your contemplation.
At least. Because maybe things could get a little bit better if you listen to it.
Yeah.
There's always better.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And,
love it.
Yeah. And again, the transition I went through, what mine was telling me was you don't have to feel bad when you can't help people.
Yeah. And
that happened with me yesterday with Chloe. We were playing basketball outside. She comes to jump over the metal gate right there because the basketball went down, you know, towards the gym area. She's jumping back. She passes it to me like, you know, hey, we're playing. And then she goes to jump over, man, and clips her leg and hits hard. First tailbone, then head. Bro, it sucked. And I felt guilt so bad. And I remember even going up to her. I was like, nah, sorry, I wasn't there to catch you, but I'm always going to be there to pick you up. Like all these unconscious things like coming up, like trying to justify this guilt that I was feeling. Went to bed with it, bro. Like seriously, I was like, why are you feeling guilty that you weren't there to catch your daughter? And then it literally was saying just the fact that you want to help is enough.
Yeah.
And that exploration right there helped me through my transition of now saying, dude, devote yourself to support, encouragement, help, live a life like that. But if you don't feel like you have to help everyone, because if you can't, you're going to always feel guilty or frustrated.
That's good.
And I don't want to feel that anymore.
Yeah.
So now it's like, dang, I wasn't there to catch my daughter hitting the floor. But you know what? I was immediately there to pick her up when she did. Yep. And that's just as good. Yep. And that's context, right?
Yeah.
And that's what I was able to really tear apart from this transition I'm in. So
it's good.
As you're going through a transition, explore the heck out of yourself and understand why there's some tension, or some angst or some fear, and work through it.
Yep.
Acknowledge it, welcome it, and then utilize it to make a better tomorrow.
Yep. It's good. I think you're going to have to. I mean, I think it's a huge point to hammer home here is that if you're on this page, if you're on this video, you're probably struggling with something, hopefully, because that's why we want to help. And you've got to come to the fact and come to the grips that, like, if you're struggling with adapting to change and transition, or you're scared to even initiate that, and you've felt that nagging self. I mean, that's another thing to explore even too. Like,
speaking of,
who's that?
Family just showing up.
Nice. That's another thing to explore, though. I'm just thinking, like, the connection, like, when you start to listen to this self and be genuine to who you are, it might initiate change. And that's so it's like, it's almost like a reoccurring loop where it's like, okay, well, to be better at preparing for adaptation through change and transition, you have to be having a good, healthy relationship with self. But also, by the way, once you initiate that, your self's probably going to be like, hey, bro, you're going down the wrong path. We need to initiate and change. For sure. So that's interesting. Like, which leads into what I got here, number 3 on the stages of transition that we're putting together on episode 47, establishment. Yeah. So before you establish a position during this change, you really need to work through all the things that you just talked about. Yeah. You've got to really be able to work through all those cycles that are going to eventually get you to the points where this is where you need to be during this change. And then establish yourself. Dig your feet in, forward center of mass, and go after it. Establish yourself. Yeah, it's good. And that's where that power position comes in, that strength comes in, which is, I was thinking the other day about like how our personalities, I think, really mesh well on a podcast. Is like, you bring like the power, man, and I bring the love. Like, you look at that daggone our Instagram post. Yeah, I love that post, man. I think that shows our personalities perfect, dude. Yeah, it's like captured the moment. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So that's kind of, so establishment, boom, we've established ourselves in the continuous change that is what we want to present as the Ultimate Pill podcast. Yeah. Constantly evolving, adapting, transitioning, changing. But that takes growth, that takes exploration, and that takes that grit to establish yourself into knowing that everything that we're doing right now is based off a lot of mental effort on both our parts. You see what I'm saying? Yep. I think where people get caught up, again, speaking, from experience, is getting too emotionally entangled with the establishment phase and trying to skip over the growth and exploration. Yeah. And all of the chaotic unknowns that involves. Yeah. Like, what already led you to think that that's how it should be? Exactly. You know, and I think when we get a dream or a vision, a creative vision for our lives or what we want to do or chase after this dream, it's like, you know, the really imaginative people can really put themselves in those shoes and be like, God, where they're established already in that change. And it's like, God, I just want to be there. But I'm so far away. And it's like, what we've talked about the whole show is the ability to reframe your mind, reframe your relationship with self to be welcoming and accepting and have a growth mindset and the potential opportunity that lies in those first two phases that get you to that establishment.
Absolutely. Yeah. If you skip 1 and 2 and you just establish based off what you've experienced in the past or beliefs that have been programmed in from experience and education and what people have told you, and you skip over the opportunity to grow and explore through that change and transition, you've missed a vital opportunity.
I would even be willing to argue if you are only focusing on the third phase of establishment, you'll be one of those people that's constantly frustrated, depressed, and anxious about forced change from the external world.
And think about, dude, if we're talking about change is like literally context-based, like you're going to experience all this stuff that we're talking about today on a daily basis, like multiple times. Like imagine entering every new experience with the stages of transition in mind to where you're thinking, all right, what can I do to grow here?
Yeah.
What do I got to explore to make that happen? Ooh, why am I feeling like this? Bro, like welcome to conscious living.
Yeah.
And then at that point, establish your position.
Yeah.
Boom.
Yep.
But make sure it's coming from the right place.
Yeah.
And the intention is correct.
Yeah. It's good.
Intention, I feel like I should have said that. You were talking about 30 minutes ago, but yeah, intention has a lot to do with it, man. So make sure what you're establishing yourself in comes from the best intentions, man.
Yeah. I'll say this.
That takes so many reps though, dog. Oh my gosh.
And as a footnote,
so many reps.
As a footnote to understanding your intention in response to a change, you've got to have that healthy relationship with self because you've
got to listen to the reflection, man.
Yep, exactly.
Because that reflection is you.
Yeah, exactly.
Like the world you're seeing out there is you.
Yep.
Exactly as you are.
So
reflected back, like not even reflected back, just experienced in.
Yeah.
But I like the idea of reflected back because it gives you that mental image to use.
Right.
But that's you, man.
Yep.
So make sure before you establish you in a certain change or transition that you've done the work to put yourself in a position to win.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely. I love that.
Hey,
Good
man.
stuff.
1 was growth. 2, exploration. 3, establishment. Let's pick apart the last one right here, maintenance.
Maintaining.
So let's run through it again real quick and then roll with it. So we've gone through the growth process. We had a growth mindset going into it.
Yeah.
We believe that with effort and practice, we can cultivate our abilities and intelligence. We explored how to do that through exploration. Our intentions were set in the most moral and ethical fashion, and we established ourselves in that, or through establishment. And now, change. When we can maybe venture into long-term change on this, how do we maintain that through maintenance over an extended period of time?
I'm going to bring in strength and conditioning.
Let's do it.
Because in-season strength and conditioning should be about maintenance.
Okay.
I think some people, actually I know this, especially athletes, have a twisted idea of what maintenance looks like. They think it looks like, let me just go in and get like a little arm pump and a little bit of blood flow and nothing too challenging and I'll be good. But in fact, that's counterintuitive to maintenance. Maintenance is actually still challenging yourself. Okay, so for example, with 1 rep max percentages. Out of season, it's going to be really, really high intensity, meaning it's really, really heavy weight, high percentage on that 1 rep max percentage. So anywhere from 70 to 90%, right? With tons of volume, which is the amount of reps and sets. When we get into in-season maintenance, you only drop the intensity a little bit, 70%, and you drop the volume to maybe 3 by 3 or 5 reps of 3 at 70, 50 to 70%. But it doesn't drop to 20 to 30% for just a couple reps, which I feel like is what a lot of people think maintenance is. But you actually will lose muscle tone. You'll lose muscle gains that you've made in the off season by not stressing the muscles enough in maintenance and safely. And it is safe to do that in season. People worry, coaches worry about in season training, if it's too hard, you're going to injure the kid. That's actually not true. You're actually opening the kid up to more risk of injury if you don't train at all in season and have some type of maintenance.
That checks out to me.
Yeah.
You know?
So I just wanted to see how you take that metaphor and run with it for when we're talking about maintaining all the healthy practices we're talking about with the relationship of self. It's like, to me, my immediate interpretation of that is like being willing to still challenge yourself in a time of maintenance is how you maintain.
Absolutely. What I was thinking as you were talking right there is just the idea that the nervous system needs to be challenged in order to adapt and cope with, you know, the consistent change and transition. Now, like when you think about that when we're talking with like a particular change here, like you've got, what you're talking about is autonomic arousal. Like if you kind of let the muscles I'll use the word atrophy, but literally, like, let's use, actually, I'm not even with muscle, but just say like the growth, right? That you experience, the exploration, what you learned, okay? How you establish yourself, like keep those with you, but at the same time, continue challenging the system so that autonomic arousal stays in a place to where you're not essentially like digressing.
Right. You're still
like,
adapting.
Yeah. Like regression to the mean almost.
Yeah.
Like, no, man, like stay above the mean and keep moving forward.
Yeah.
And that's going to require, like in that maintenance phase, like challenge the system, because the nervous system can adapt cognitively and physically to very challenging environments, but it needs to be introduced to that first.
Yes.
And that's on a day-to-day. Those are those reps in the car.
Yep. That's what I was going to say. It's about the reps.
That is a rep in the car, man. Like if you can keep your nervous system in a positive place, like really, if you really want to call it that, which I'm okay saying that, yeah, if you keep it in a place to where your interpretation of self is matching the environment and things are working smoothly and it's in flow, like that is a rep, regardless of if it's something that's going to take you to these, you know, big achievements and goals. Like, no, those small reps accumulated over an extended period of time will develop that strength and success that you need to continuously work through these 4 stages of transition.
Love it.
You know what I'm saying?
And that gets us right back into the underlying theme of like the blockbuster Netflix metaphor.
You got to be agile, man.
Yeah, that Mike and I were talking about, like when people get, and see, maybe this might be a good point to say, like, I feel like comfort is one of the greatest killers of humanity, because like, let's say you have the courage to go out and initiate these steps of transition and change, and you go through all of it. You go through the growth, the exploration, the hardships of that. You redefine who you are. You creatively make a path for the life you want it to be, and you get established, and you reach establishment. And in that maintenance phase of establishment of change, you get comfortable. You get comfortable with where you're at, and you get comfortable with the change in your life, but also I don't need to stress myself as much as I did to get here. And I feel like, or I don't know, you could just take it a lot of ways, but I feel like comfort is one of the greatest killers to this in maintenance. And it's going to stop you from chasing after the challenges that we're talking about that are necessary for autonomic adaptation.
Absolutely.
And did I say that right? Autonomic. There we go.
Autonomic.
You're the physiology guy.
I try to be. I'm trying to learn more
like
about
that.
it for sure. I really am.
I'm the abstract concepts. You're the neurophysiology. But
yeah.
And I just wanted to say that too. Like I bring up comfort because, at least from a strength-based standpoint, which I think that metaphor really, really lays over and applies to what we're talking about today.
It does.
The stress has to be violent. It's not enough. Like, people will go to the gym and work out for a month and be like, why is my body not changing? And the simple answer is the simple answer is you're not doing it right or enough. Like, I had to come to that. Like, I wanted to look a certain way, and I was doing training, but it was like reading and researching and realized I'm not doing enough. I am not stressing my body enough for an adaptation. If you want an adaptation, if you want to change, then you have to stress your body enough and violently enough to get that change. And you won't get there if you're comfortable.
And that is also when it comes to the social context, the mental context, and the emotional context. Now, you can substitute the word violent if you want, but I'm telling you, like it's ironic that you brought this up, and complacency towards the end of the show is, before we chose to do the topic transition, I was really like, dude, we should talk about the pain pleasure principle, because that's a real thing, man. right? Because when ultimately, like, the brain is always trying to prevent pain and go towards pleasure. Now, what that pleasure is to you is where a lot of, you know, whether that's going to be do I want to take the easy route, or do I want to take, you know, the more pleasurable route? Because there's a lot of very easy routes that we can take in 2023, which I'm grateful for.
Yeah.
They provide us with all the resources that we need. Super grateful for that, but they've also opened the door
That's a good point.
to instant gratification. But if you can find satisfaction in not doing the thing that you know you shouldn't do, that's a moment, that's a rep. Like, I find satisfaction in, if let's talk, okay, someone's trying to develop a better relationship with their coworker, right? You know, typically I'd walk in, I wouldn't say hello, or I'd talk crap about them behind their back, or I'd always have those like snark remarks that, you know, when they'd be talking. Like, I'm now going to find satisfaction in not doing that anymore. And every time that mechanism in the unconscious activates to get you to do that thing that you've been doing for so long, but now you're paying attention to it, and you let that go a little bit, you strengthen yourself more, and you can do all those things that you're now talking about. So finding satisfaction in not doing the thing that you know you shouldn't do is a really powerful rep that we can all use, not even just in the gym, but for our own social health, emotional health, and mental health.
For sure. And that pain pleasure principle that you're talking about. Yeah, man.
That's a real thing, dude.
And the reward system that it induces.
That's the dopamine system.
Yes.
If you could find, if you can find that meaning and positive belief, dude, in the effort that it takes to pursue the better thing, and your mid-cingulate cortex starts releasing the dopamine based off like the effort that is being put in to do that.
Yeah. Like,
you start getting the same emotion, but it takes the reps. You see what I'm saying? Before you get that little hit of doing that anger outburst or the snark remark. Like, you literally, like, we're talking like neuromodulators, like, start creating different connections and pathways, dude, that allow you to start interacting with reality in a more positive and powerful format. Like,
yes. And to me, where I was going with that is that's
reps,
a breaking of the pattern. The reps allow you to break the pattern. Because, like, somewhere along the lines, you call it programming, that's fine. Like, somewhere along the lines, we can take a step back and have the hyper awareness to look at our life and how we respond to certain situations like that, and see, okay, I've developed a pattern where my pain pleasure principle, dopamine reward system, has rewarded me to respond this way consistently. And that has become a pattern in my life, and it is negatively impacting my life and my emotions. And so if we can take a third person view, an omnipresent view of our life in that way, break some of those boundaries you've talked about in past shows, you can start to see those patterns, and you can see where they've led you, and you can see where they're going to continue to lead you if you don't break them.
Yeah.
And so therefore we can get into those reps of, like you just said, and you expound so nicely, where you start to feel that subconscious. It's like reward's coming, and you can, no, man, I'm going to take this as a repetition to start breaking that pattern.
Yep.
And in a way, it's like
your system's like, what are you doing?
Well,
but dude,
and that's like, we've used the metaphor of digging ruts for rivers. I think another good metaphor for that is like, you've built up these walls that are patterns, and every rep that you choose to not reward those negative patterns is like a chip in the wall. And you're just like, chip away. And eventually you'll break that wall.
And that's going to reveal something way better.
Yep. It'd be a brighter light.
I love that, man.
Yeah.
That was really good, actually. That was cool. Get those reps in, you know, find that satisfaction, man, in doing the right thing in those challenging moments. What a cool show, man.
Yeah, well, this was a good show. We do have to wrap. We got a show to prepare for, so we're going to have to.
Dude, Travis Scott. Here we come.
Going to Utopia, man.
That's cool, man. You guys are about to have a gnarly experience tonight.
We are. We're going to go to another
gnarly,
another dimension, and go rage.
I haven't said gnarly in years. Where did that come from?
You're a West Coast guy.
Unconscious came up.
Gnarly, dude.
Slip of the tongue, as Freud would call it.
Yep. Nah, man, this was a good show. I think.
Yeah.
We got real practical.
Yeah, let's summarize this sucker real quick. Where you want to start?
Well, we set out to talk about how to positively in a a good posture approach transition in life, and the hardships that entails, which ultimately led us down the path of depth that is a relationship with self, and how we have a positive relationship with self, which ultimately led us into the deeper level, which is the emotions, and how we respond to those emotions in the battle or the reframing of the mind, and how we interpret emotions as responses to the data, the sense data of experience of life. And I think that led us into a really, really good conversation that gave us practical steps, which was the 3-step process of how we respond to emotion. You said it was to identify, acknowledge,
welcome, and then utilize.
Which I think that's the huge key in reframing. It's a springboard, man.
Yeah.
When you get those negative responses in emotion, like what I was, in the situation,
it's there to teach you something. There's something to learn.
Yeah, exactly. And then that led us into talking about reps and how that's a rep. That's a rep for you to be prepared for those bigger situations where you're going to want to be that person that in times of crisis or change or chaos, you're the person that's solution-based. And what was the other? It was solution-based and...
Well, there's strength-based and solution-focused.
Yeah, solution-focused, strength... I forget.
CBT?
No. Anyway, you're going to want to be that person, and you can't be that person if you don't rep it.
Or be able to stand firm.
Yeah.
Chin high, shoulders back when other people are crying.
Yep.
That's a good person to be.
Yep.
And they can trust and know that you'll be there for them if they need you. It's a really good point to be at.
Yeah.
That takes a lot of reps before to get there, though.
Yep.
It takes a lot of successful transitions through change.
Yep.
And the stages, we'll keep it with the stages of transition. If you're going through, and this is what we closed out the show with today, if you're going through a transition or you maybe got inspired to take that next step into courage and pursue a transition that, you're going to start planning for and preparing for and, putting in the effort that it takes and the action that it takes to, move into it, then follow these 4. Hey, think about how you can grow through it. Explore how that needs to happen. Make sure your intention's coming from the best place. Put your feet on the floor, forward center of mass, and establish yourself. And most importantly, man, maintenance by challenging the system still.
Yeah.
And making sure that you're always a day-to-day putting yourself in a position to, stress yourself in a way that that it's strengthening you and it's making you more powerful and resilient, developing your willpower. You start activating different regions of the brain that create well-being and life satisfaction. And ultimately, this process just kind of continuously evolves itself. And I think hi, Roxy, love you too. And I think you see a lot of people who live really meaningful, well-lived lives deep into their 90s and 100, which I hung out with a 100-year-old man on Friday, which was really cool.
Dang.
Those are people that took transition and made the best of it.
God.
100. He was standing up still, man. And he had a life. It was awesome.
Yeah.
Multi-millionaire.
Think how much change he's faced on a cultural level. Born in 1920.
Still looking at Colleen with those eyes of he's who's this young lady? It's so cool, man.
Yeah, that's cool.
Shout out to Jack and James.
That's cool.
I'm gonna go. Colleen and I were gonna go eat dinner with them one night.
That's good.
Yeah, Jack was one of her old clients.
Oh, cool.
So we visited him. He's in a home now.
Nice.
And James was his neighbor.
Cool.
James, man, cool guy. So I think James probably grew, explored, established, and maintained a lot in his life.
Yeah.
And he's 100 and he's still smiling and, he's been married for 70 years. I think that's a life well lived, man.
Yep.
And all these things we're talking about, it's not about becoming a millionaire or having this Fortune 500 company no, it's like literally like at 100, like, are you going to look back on this experience and say, man, I definitely didn't rust out. I wore out, man. I wore this thing out in the best way possible, y'all.
Yep.
Like, let's go. T.S. Eliot style.
Yep.
I don't have one of his lines right in my head, but I know he's one of those guys. I think maybe he is the one that said, when I go, I'm not going to be rusted out. I'm going to be worn out.
He was onto it.
Yeah, T.S. Eliot was good. Lawrence of Arabia. I think many episodes back, I couldn't remember it was T.S. Eliot. We were still recording in the previous spot.
Yeah.
And after the show, I was like, oh, I meant T.S. Eliot, Lawrence of Arabia.
Yeah.
He was tuned in while at the same time living the lifestyle of a warrior.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's what we're all doing in the UP fam. Like, we're in this, man.
Yep.
And everything that we explore together on these shows is intended to, put you in contention. It's a powerful and loving thing all at once.
Yeah.
That's the ultimate pill, man.
Yep. Go out and do it.
Yeah.
I feel like we
kick this Kruma beat up while we roll out.
I'm about to roll it back.
Roll it back.
I feel like we gave a lot of practical effects.
Yeah.
Practical approaches to how to start doing this right now, today. So go out and then on your journey and adventure, wave at us because we're right there with you.
Yeah. Parallel paths, y'all. Love you so much. Episode 47, Ultimate Pill. Thank you guys for tuning in. Until next time, we'll be thinking and getting things ready.
Yep.
Love y'all.
Have a happy Thanksgiving.
Oh, yeah. Happy Thanksgiving.
It's coming out on Thanksgiving.
Yeah. There
Happy
you go.
Thanksgiving.
Enjoy your time with your family. Yeah, this is dropping on Thanksgiving.
Yep.
Happy Thanksgiving, y'all.
See y'all.